Hi, and welcome to our Director's Office Facebook Live. I'm Sarah Dorenzo, Public Information Officer for the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Today, I'm in the studio alone, but joining us for our Facebook Live is, as always, Director Brian Nesvik, and as our guest today is Chief Alan Osterlin, Chief of the Fisheries Division. They're joining us from Cody at a distance. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. Well, thanks for getting on important conversation we're going to have today. We are talking about a very serious and rapidly developing situation, which is that zebra mussels were discovered in Wyoming pest stores across the state on a plant called a moss ball. So why don't we just jump right into this discussion and start talking about what's going on. Director, can you start at the beginning, just tell us what happened, how we discovered these zebra mussels?
You bet, Sarah. So we learned about a week ago now, a little less than a week ago, that zebra mussels had been discovered in Petco stores in Wyoming, in 4 different stores in Wyoming, and that these mussels were associated with, as you said, these algae called moss balls that people oftentimes buy for their aquariums. We've certainly been, working hard, spent millions of dollars and countless manpower to prevent zebra aquagua mussels from coming in the state, and so this was something that became very quickly our top priority.
And can you explain why this is such a big deal for Wyoming?
You bet, Sarah. So obviously it may seem that if this mussel was in an aquarium and it has some kind of an effect on an aquarium, that why should we care? And really the consequence of these zebra mussels being introduced into either the sewer system, being by people dumping aquariums down a drain or down a toilet, or worst case, these zebra mussels being introduced into live water like a creek, pond, river, or a lake, are potentially devastating for those bodies of water. When these mussels reproduce, they attach themselves to different types of infrastructure like pipes or like a dam. They consume all the nutrients in water and create issues for fisheries, and they can clog up irrigation systems because as they reproduce, they just grow and grow and grow, and they encrust themselves to other mussels, and they create a mess, and it's very costly to clean it up. And so this is significant. We've worked very hard for many years to keep these things out of the state because we've known that it wouldn't be good if they ever showed up, and we've been successful to date. But so this was very disappointing. But with that said, I think that what we hope to convey here today is that we're working hard now to try to mitigate any impacts that could come from this, and to do our level best to prevent any kind of problems from the mussels.
Thank you. A little bit about exactly what zebra mussels are, and the director did a really good job of explaining what they are, but maybe you could talk a little bit more about what they look like, how big they are, and go from there.
You bet. So a zebra mussel is just a freshwater mussel. They're native to southern Russia and Ukraine region of the world. They had been introduced to North America through ballast water and Great Lake freighters. So this mussel is very small. The adult size, largest ones, they're be about the size of a fingernail. They reproduce very rapidly. In a year, a female mussel can produce 1 million eggs. And there's also another life stage of the mussel. It's called a veliger, and it's the larval stage. And that's microscopic. You can't see it. So, that's the risk, is that they reproduce very rapidly. As the director indicated, they can impact aquatic ecosystems, water delivery systems, and in their larval stage are very, very hard to detect. Even in the adult stage, these things can be small and hard to detect, but they can colonize and really have an impact to the ecosystem.
So that's a very serious risk to the state. And like the director said, we've been looking for zebra mussels for a long time, but on watercraft. And we were sort of surprised, along with more than 24 other states, to find out that these zebra mussels entered Wyoming on mossballs where we weren't looking before. Can you talk a little bit about where these mossballs, which parts of the state that they ended up in, and should everyone be concerned about these mossballs if they have them, or are they only certain mossballs?
So they are, the mossball is packaged several different ways, and it's a green algae, and when it comes from across the ocean over to these distributors, it's desiccated out to some point, but then it's rehydrated, usually at its destination. Right now, we found it in several different products. Some of them are called, a Marimo ball, a beta ball, beta buddy, shrimp buddy. So, there's several different products out there where it's being packaged. So it's a pretty big risk. We're advising folks to don't take the risk. If you have that product, no matter where it's from, dispose of it, please.
So
I'd add, Sarah, to that is, while zebra mussels were introduced into the United States in the Great Lakes, the source of these new zebra mussels in Wyoming are not from the Great Lakes. They're actually from distributors of this product, this mossball type product. And we believe that most of these were imported into, and when I say most, about 90% were imported into a distribution point in California, and then were further distributed from there. But these came directly from, we believe, those places where they're native in southern Ukraine.
So it sounds like anybody who has a mossball should just take precautions and dispose of the mossball and any aquarium water to help Wyoming mitigate the risks that are associated with this. And can you describe the directions on what we're asking people to do if they have a mossball and need to dispose of aquarium water, and also what not to do?
Sure, I'll take that one, Sarah. So we recommend taking the animals out of there, the fish or turtles, whatever it might be, removing it from the tank, removing all vegetation out of there, and boiling it for 5 minutes on the stove, and then taking that and putting it into the garbage, and taking out the water in the aquarium, because that could have the veligers in it, and boiling it as well for 5 minutes. Once that is done, one thing we don't want to happen, as the director mentioned, is it ended up into our wastewater treatment centers. We don't know what's going to happen if it reaches there. So we're recommending for them to dump that water after it's been decontaminated out onto a porous surface like your lawn, or once it cools, into your planters that way. But it's imperative that it doesn't end up down the sink, in the toilet, or storm drain system, or any other body of water.
Right. So proper disposal for anyone who has these mossballs or has aquarium water that these type of mossballs came in contact with. It's really it's really up to you to dispose of this in a way that makes sure that we keep our waters in Wyoming safe, our natural waters, and our municipal water systems. So if people have questions about this procedure, or if they even find a zebra mussel in their tank, what should they do?
So if they find a zebra mussel in their tank, or what they think is a zebra mussel, go ahead and give us a call. We'll be happy to have one of our AIS personnel go over there and take a look. We want to err on the side of caution right now, always. And you can find information. You can go onto our website, and right there on the homepage, there's information on these moss balls. You can click on that, and it'll go through all the decontamination procedures and give them an idea what they look like as well.
Director, can you tell us, what if someone has already maybe poured aquarium water down the drain or throughout one of these moss balls, or even poured water outside somewhere? What should they do if they weren't even aware of this issue when they did this? Is there anything that we're asking of those folks?
Absolutely. So first of all, Sarah, we really want to be able to focus our efforts in detecting any potential infestation. We need to know where to look. And so we would ask those folks that if they have, inadvertently, with really no reason to believe it could be harmful, if they've dumped aquarium water down their drain after they've had one of these moss balls or into live water, we'd like them to give us a call so we can go and look and see if we can detect any problems. And, if folks are uncomfortable for some reason and giving us a call and letting us know that, they're welcome to go and use our Stop Poaching hotline. And they can remain anonymous if they report it. And it would, that would give us a place at least to go look. And that hotline is certainly on our website.
It's on that page as well.
Yeah, and it's on our web page as well.
On the moss ball page. One thing I'll add too is that, if you're looking in your tank and you don't see anything, it might not mean it's not there. It might be in the larval stage, like I mentioned, might be a veliger in there. So, like I said, we want to err on the side of caution and treat all those water that had those moss ball products in there.
So before we discovered zebra mussels on these moss balls in pet stores, our focus was really on the impacts to boaters and fisheries and natural waters. But this shows us that there's a lot more people who could be impacted by zebra mussels in Wyoming than before. Can you talk about just between the both of you, what the impacts are for people like aquarium owners and anglers, and maybe some of our people who have to irrigate water? What are the potential impacts of them, and why should everyone take this very seriously?
Well, I guess I'd start, Sarah, by just saying that everybody has a tie to water, and essentially this zebra mussel can impact the delivery and ultimately the quality of the waters in our state. And since we're all so reliant on water, it literally can touch every single person. Now, so what do I mean by that? Well, obviously, if it disrupts sewer systems, that could be a huge problem for having to remove zebra mussels in a sewer system, or with preventing sewage flow through the sewer system would be potentially very expensive and very disruptive to just everybody's normal lives. Certainly, having these things show up in live water and have an impact on dams, on infrastructure in lakes, on power generation, and on any kind of agricultural irrigation, all the above, those could significantly impact our lives here in Wyoming. In the way it was so hard for keep I just continue to say we're going to do everything we can in Wyoming to not have them. And so, that's kind of why it really does touch everyone.
Chief Osterlin, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think the director covered it well. It touches everybody. These things are very tough, impossible to eradicate at this time. And it has a significant, we deal in the management of our aquatic ecosystems in this division. And it could have a potential impact on sports fisheries, native fish, native clams, everything. So it's a big deal, and it is a priority for our agency right now to address this.
Thank you. And for the people who are watching, we're going to take questions that you might have. So keep dropping those into the chat, and we'll get to them in just a minute. What is Wyoming and Wyoming Game and Fish Department doing right now to respond to this issue? I mean, we've sent a lot of information out asking folks to pay attention to this issue, dispose of their mothballs, but is there anything else that we're working on that we want people to know?
Our first priority has been mitigation. And so first thing we did was we got our AIS personnel involved, and they went to try to determine how widely spread this product is. And our first indication was that it was found at Petco's. So we focused on Petco's, and then we went to other pet stores and trying to spread that message. We engaged at the federal agency level. We talked to corporate Petco, PetSmart, same corporation, has been very responsive in trying to get those removed from the shelves. Once we found some of this product, and where we found it was in Cheyenne, Rock Springs, Gillette, and Casper. And once we found them there, we kind of doubled down on our efforts and had our personnel try to obtain as many of these samples as we can. Petco did send out a notice to their stores to have the quarantine this product, and they're in the process of disposing of it. So it's been all over the nation. They've detected it. Some are live, what they're finding in other states. So the threat is significant and it's real. And we're going to continue to reach out to state agencies on coordination. And I'll let the director respond to what that effort looks like.
Yeah, so certainly the governor is interested in doing everything we can to work now to mitigate this entire threat. And so he has formed an emergency response group that is made up of those agencies that have, those state agencies that have a direct relationship or area of responsibility dealing with different waters. And so that group is working now to coordinate, all of our efforts across the state to make sure that we're looking at, in places where we may not have thought for this type of problem, as well as, what are some of the things that we need to do now for the long-term, for long-term mitigation efforts. So anyway, that's certainly going on now, where the Department of Agriculture has issued an importation and sale of mossball order that went into effect yesterday. It bans the importation of these things into our state, and it also bans and prohibits their sale. We're going to continue to work hard with other federal agencies that may be able to help us with messaging and mitigation. We're involving our legislative leaders in the issue because we're certainly going to be looking to them for them to be knowledgeable of the issue as local representatives in government of all of our citizens in the state, but also, there's potential this could be costly, and we're going to be looking to them to help with financial resources. And so, yeah, this is an all hands on deck statewide effort right now. And, I still have optimism that we can, if we work hard now and we get some help from the great citizens of our state, that I think I have optimism that we can mitigate this threat and not allow them to dominate our water systems and infrastructure across the state.
Sure. So, like we've said before, we have some directions on our website for aquarium owners and anyone else who might own moss balls from anywhere. Anywhere you've purchased them, we're asking you to take special care to dispose of those properly, along with the any of the tank water. Do not flush the moss balls. Do not pour the water down the drain. And that is the method we are recommending for disposing of the moss balls and making sure that any of the Ballingers are boiled in, that you can't see in that water before disposing it. I have a couple questions coming through on Facebook, and some of them are about procedures and things that could work and what doesn't. I know a lot of different states who are tackling the same issue have come out with guidelines, and they may be a little bit different than ours. But Chief Osterlin, the question is, do ion discs work? They call them dock discs. Do those work? Or are there any other methods that would work? And why are we recommending this one?
So I'm not familiar with ion disc. I'll look into it though with our AIS folks. But there are different things that do work, and you'll see it on different states' websites, whether it's bleach or a salt treatment. We recommend the hot water treatment and disposal this way because it falls in line with how we've been deconning boats in our program in the past. We know it works. The hot water works, boiling them. These guys are tough, so we want to make sure that they're dead. And as far as you'll see some recommendations from other states about once you do all these steps, go ahead and pour it down the drain. We don't want to take that risk. We don't know what they're going to do in water treatment systems. They're just so darn tough. So that's why we're not recommending that.
So our recommendations are, the way that we're asking folks in Wyoming to dispose of their moss balls and water. Boiling, like the chief said, is a very effective method, and it aligns with the way that we already decontaminate boats at our check stations, which is one of the many efforts that we already have going in Wyoming to prevent aquatic invasive species. Director and Chief, would you like to talk a little bit about the efforts that we do currently that have been working to keep AIS, like zebra mussels, out of Wyoming already?
Sure, I'll start on that. So this program's been in our agency for 10 years now, and it's evolved and developed as we get more information and technology develops. We have taken in our state a perimeter approach. We know that the zebra mussels and quagga mussels have been moving westward for quite some time now. We have a threat on the zebra mussels from the Missouri main stem, and then on the southwest part of the state and the Colorado River system, quagga mussels. So we set up check stations at major entry points into the state. Our busiest check station is the Evanston check station at the Evanston Port of Entry. We have check stations on I-80, I-25, on both ends of the state, I-90 where it comes in, and in different areas. We also do roving check stations where we go set up at a water, or we have some other permanent check stations like at Glendo to check boats. So we check a lot of boats every year. I think it was about 76,000 last year in that neighborhood. So that has been our effort. We've been focusing on, as far as zebra mussels and quagga mussels are concerned, the perimeter approach and watercraft as the potential vector.
The other thing I'd say, Sarah, is, we've because we've been doing this for a while now, and because we have, folks who've been able to immerse themselves in learning about these mussels, we've developed a real expertise in understanding ways to prevent this thing in, when considering a boat, when we think about the boat being the vector. And our team has thought very proactively, and they've really worked hard to look at what would happen if it ever showed up in a large body of water, and how would we deal with that. And so there are plans in place. There have actions that have been taken. Many of those are still yet to be vetted completely through the whole process. But we were, towards the end of that about 2-year process when this happened. And so my point is, we've developed some expertise, and but we certainly do not have, we didn't anticipate this as a vector. And so all those efforts with regards to preventing it from coming in on watercraft will definitely help us here, but we're still having to kind of readjust a little bit to this new way for the zebra mussels to show up in Wyoming.
Yeah, and I will, one more thing is that for the last couple of years now, we've been finalizing rapid response plans so that on our 23 top high risk, or what we feel is high risk, medium risk waters. So that process is going on, and you can go on our website right now, review plan for Flaming Gorge, but we'll have the other 22 of them coming out to the public in probably next couple months. But we wanted to be ready if this day did happen. So I think we're in a position where, with these plans to address the potential spread. Now, that wouldn't be these plans can't address eradication because we don't know the method to do that yet, but potentially reduce the spread from one body to another of water.
The other thing I'd say, Sarah, is because we haven't had zebra mussels or quagga mussels in Wyoming, we don't know how well they would do here. We don't know. It's not been tested in Wyoming waters to know if they can, maybe they do very well and they reproduce like crazy. Maybe they don't, but we just don't know the answer to that. And frankly, we haven't really wanted to know because we don't want to have to find out because we've got them here. And so there is certainly some unknowns here. We don't know how they might react in sewer systems. We have some initial information, that indicates there's a potential that some wastewater treatment plants may have processes that would significantly reduce or kill zebra mussels, but that's all, preliminary, and we haven't fully explored exactly what that effect would be yet.
Well, there's certainly a lot of unknowns still with the situation, but it sounds like we have an approach that we're heading forward with, and we'll be learning a lot along the way. And I think we'll go ahead and start to wrap up, but any last comments from you before we head out?
The one thing I'd say, Sarah, is that tomorrow morning at 8:00, there will be a briefing to the Joint Travel, Recreation, and Wildlife Cultural Resources Committee in the morning at 8:00, and we'll be providing them a thorough brief. We'll have the other members of the response team there, so directors from other agencies. And, their intent, I think, is to have a public information session. We'll provide lots of details. Legislators will have the opportunity to ask questions of those of us involved, and that'll be another opportunity if folks are interested in learning more about this.
Great. Well, thank you, Director Nesvik, Chief Osterlin, for joining us today to talk about zebra mussels. For everyone who's watching, we'll leave you with our top points. I mean, this is a serious issue that is facing Wyoming, and Wyoming Game and Fish Department is working very quickly to try to mitigate any risk to Wyoming and our natural waters. So the way that you can help right now is, if you have a moss ball in your aquarium, or know of someone who does, dispose of that properly by boiling it for at least 5 minutes, and never pouring aquarium water down a drain or outside into any natural water sources. Keep an eye out for zebra mussels in your tank, and please call us if you see anything. And we are here to help. Thank you. And for more information on mossballs, you can visit the Wyoming Game and Fish Department website and sign up for an email letter that will keep you up to date on the what we're doing to tackle this invasive species in Wyoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.